أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ولا عقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم عبد الله ورسوله أما بعد. We thank the Almighty Allah for another opportunity to be here. We thank Him for His mercies that He's bestowed upon us. We bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship except the Almighty Allah alone. And we bear witness that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is His servant and His messenger. Whosoever the Almighty Allah guides is really guided, and whoever goes astray has nobody to blame but themselves. Today is a Monday, the 23rd day of Muharram, 1446 years after the Hijrah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, which corresponds, I believe, with the 29th day of July 2024. In this class, we want to look at some of the principles of hijab in Islam. And hijab is the Muslim dress code. And most often than not, when we speak of hijab, what comes to people's minds normally is that hijab is only for women. But hijab is for both gender, both males and females. Sometimes too, when we talk about hijab, some people just think that it is just the headscarf that a Muslim woman uses just to cover her head. But then hijab goes beyond that. Hijab goes beyond mere clothing. The person's manners and characteristics is also a form of hijab. So sometimes you find it very weird and very, uncomfortable that you find a Muslim woman in her full hijab in terms of her dressing, but then her manners stink. Sometimes you find a Muslim man in his thobe, with his beard, but then his manners and his characters also very bad. So it's not about the clothing alone. The clothing is an integral part of it. But then it goes beyond the clothing. If our understanding of hijab is just the clothes that we wear, then that understanding of hijab itself is weak and it's problematic. So hijab is the dress code that the Almighty Allah has instituted for the Muslims. The word hijab means a partition, a curtain, something that separates something from something. So for example, these dividers that we have here, previously when it's time for the weekend school, we put those dividers in between so that there is no contact between the males and the females. So that's the definition, the linguistic definition of the word hijab. That it's a divider, it's a partition, something that prevents you from seeing another thing. That's the word hijab. But then within the Islamic theology, it is this way of life where there is this segregation between the sexes, where a man is not allowed to get closer to a woman that is not his mahram. In Islam, there are relationships between males and females. Some relationships are such that you are allowed to have some conversation with them, you are allowed to sit with them, you are allowed to eat with them. And these are stipulated in the Quran. Very clear. I believe in Surah An-Nur. Very clear. The kind of women you can have some cordial relationship with. And the majority of the rest of the women, you don't have that. Sometimes we, especially Africans, we bring in culture in here. Oh, she's my cousin. My father is her uncle. So you're shaking hands and you're hugging. Even though you when you shake hands or you hug, you don't have any ill intention. Just that you're being friendly, but that itself in Islam is wrong. That people who might be cousins, people who who are neighbors, people who are family friends for a long time, that nature of being family friends for a long time, that nature of being cousins, that nature of being, neighbors, doesn't allow you to throw the Islamic law through the window and then you do whatever you want to do. No. But sometimes you go for programs and then, even here in America, you go for programs and then, oh, Assalamu alaikum, he's shaking a hand, they're hugging each other, they're being friendly. That is in your culture. But then in Islam, it's not allowed, because the Prophet Muhammad said that it is better for a person, a man, to have a nail driven through his head than for him to touch a woman he is not supposed to touch. It is better to have a nail driven through your head than for you to touch a woman who you are not allowed to. And sometimes and especially it does happen here with us here at the weekend school. The small girls, the 5-year-olds, the 6-year-olds, Salam alaikum Shakish, they want to hug you. They are innocent. But then as a male, you need to what? You need to teach them that it is not allowed so that they grow with it. But if you entertain it worsens the issues. So 10-year-old girls, 11-year-old girls, 12-year-old girls, 13-year-old girls, let them understand that casual touch, that high five with a man is not allowed. Because in Islam, we prefer to prevent the disease than for us to wait for the disease to just, wish the person and then now we are trying to look for a cure. No. Al-wiqayatu khayrun min al-ilaj. That prevention is better than cure. So it's something that we need to talk about, because we find ourselves, in neighborhoods or in places whereby that is prevalent. Sometimes as an imam, sheikh, you go to a Muslim gathering and a Muslim sister wants to shake you. Salaam alaikum. She feels it's a sign of respect. She feels, it's a sign of what? It's a sign of, admiration. But in reality, it is not. A brother, a couple of days, asked a question. It was a private question. And this necessitated, this class on hijab. He said he has found a woman he wants to marry. They have agreed to get married. And the woman is coming to town. If he goes to pick her at the airport, is he allowed to hug her? Well, he is asking genuinely. It's a genuine question. Is he allowed to hug her? And from the way he asked the question, you could realize that he doesn't know. He didn't know. And then he's very much concerned about his deen. That is why he's asking that question, that am I allowed to hug her? The fact that we've agreed to get married? No. So the rules of hijab in Islam goes beyond just clothing. The rules of hijab in Islam goes beyond, she's my cousin, no, he's my, no. The Almighty Allah in Surah Al-Nur tells us, وَكُلِّ الْمُؤْمِنَاتِ يَغْضُضْنَ مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِنَّ, that tell the believing women to lower their gaze. So hijab also comprises of your eyes. What are you looking at? It's very, very important. And if you're looking, what are you trying to see? Because most of them are not. That is where the problem starts. Our eyes. What are we looking at? If the sisters are coming, lower your gaze. That's it. Someone will say, but Sheikh, she's in a full hijab. What am I going to see? No. Even if she's wearing a house, not a hijab, even if she's wearing a whole house, you have to lower your gaze. Because in lowering the gaze, you're protecting your iman, you're protecting your heart, you're protecting yourself and your chastity. So it's important we understand that this is the reality on the ground. That even if, there is a need for you to have a conversation with a sister, It might not necessarily be a sit down to discuss marriage. It might be business. It might be anything. When that happens, you need to be mindful of the rules of hijab. You don't have no business looking at the hair in their eyes. You have no business. You can listen to her without looking at her. You can listen to her without fixing your eyes on her. You can listen to her without, how would I call it? Being flirtatious. Sometimes, some of us men, in trying to be cordial and respectful with women, we end up being flirtatious with her. You look beautiful today, man. No, you're not allowed to say that. That is not our language. You're not allowed to say that. You look exquisite. No, that hijab really fits you. No. You might think you are sending a compliment, but then Shaitan is very, very smart. Very, very smart. And we live in times whereby the media propaganda is such that the main yardstick of measuring the value of a woman now is through what? Her beauty, and that's it. So the women are killing themselves, trying to get all kinds of artificial, surgeries, cosmetic surgeries. They just want to be beautiful, and then they spend hours on ending on all kinds of makeups and all kinds of, perfumes and all kinds of. Sometimes you see a Muslim woman in her hijab, in her niqab, and she has all these long eyelashes. It's not halal. So tell the believing women, the Almighty Allah, starts with women here. No, the previous verse speaks about men first. وَقُلِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ غُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ. That tell the believing men to lower their gaze. It starts with men. That is verse 30. It starts with men. The men should lower their gaze. Don't look at her. You have no business looking at her. And tell the believing women to lower their gazes, and then they should protect their chastity. With all due respect, I might make some statements here that are a bit, sensitive and a bit censored. And I believe a class like this, needs some of this stuff. We live in communities or societies that the atmosphere is sexually charged. And it's a fact. And especially we are now in summer, you see all kind of dressing that, the women are dressing now, because the media propaganda and then, the entertainment, industry is pushing down our throats that for a woman to be beautiful, she needs to expose herself. She needs to show some cleavage. So sometimes some of our girls come here to madrasa, and then she's in full hijab, but then her scarf, you can see her chest, you can see her neck. And then you tell her, no, close to her, I have my head, covered. So it's not about your head alone. It's about this sensitive part of your body. And sometimes some of the women, Muslim women, she loves the deen. It's not as if she doesn't love the deen. She loves the deen. She wants to wear the hijab, but also she wants to wear the entertainment industry's hijab. That's what she wants to wear. So instead of covering her hair and then her neck and then her chest, she ties a scarf just at the back of her head, and then you can see a bit of her hair, you can see her neck, you can see her chest. It's all out. We've simplified zina to the extent that if you do not commit zina, you are seen as someone who is not advanced, someone who's not civilized, someone who doesn't know. And that's a cancer. That's a pain. And it's so painful that our young girls now, wallahi, sometimes you listen to them talk and then you're scared. Sometimes you see what they do on TikTok. And I'm speaking about girls who are attending madrasa and then they are memorizing the Quran, but then you see them on TikTok and then you don't even recognize them. Some of the girls, they come here madrasa full hijab. Sometimes we meet them on weekdays through our own businesses, going about our own activities, and then you meet her, she says Salaam Alaikum to you, and then you don't recognize her. Because you always see her here in hijab. He said, Shakish, you don't know me? He said, no, I come to Madrasa, I'm in so-and-so's class. We're like, whoa, what happened to you? And she's like, hey, Sheikh. So it's something that we need to be mindful of. Because if we do not protect our chastity, if virginity is no longer something of value, then we have a problem. And this is the reason why some of our marriages are not lasting. Because I, as a man, have tasted 4 different women the haram way. She has tasted 3 different men the haram way. We come and meet, and then if I am not doing it the way the 3 brothers used to do it, she's not satisfied. And if she's not also doing it the way the 4 other sisters were doing it for me, it becomes a problem. And then least thing, just a drop of sugar in the tea, I become furious. Why is there too much sugar in it? The problem is not the sugar. The problem is that something historically was there. So until we protect our chastity, until we let the young ones coming up that they need to protect themselves, until we let the girls understand that there is value in keeping yourself chaste, there is value in keeping yourself upright, and we let the young men understand that there is value in closing their legs and not just chasing anything in skirts, wallahi, we'll have a long way to go. We will always conduct marriages, and in the next moment we'll be told that those marriages are have broken down. Because this is a sensitive part of our marriages that most often than not we don't pay heed to. But then the reality is that this is what we are facing. So let's let the young girls understand that there is value in virginity. Let them understand that. Let's let the young men understand that there's value in being chaste. Let's let the young people understand that you don't have to copy just anything. Because some people are doing it in the bathroom in the high school, that doesn't mean you should also do it in the bathroom in the high school. That doesn't mean that you even have to do it at all. It is something that is sacred within what Islamic Sharia. That is why there is a law attached to it. Not only for young people, and for us, those who are also married too. This business of side chicks now is even entering Muslim communities. He is married, but he has 2 side chicks. And he's testing them, he's doing all stuff with them, and he's going on a trip to LA, but then he's hiding somewhere in Allentown with his side chick for 3 days. It's painful. And this destroys our marriages. If you think you are hiding it from your wife, you're not hiding it from Allah. And at the end of the day, it's going to bite you both physically and spiritually. Because you will never ever appreciate your wife. Because Shaitan is very, very smart. He's going to beautify that other woman for you, and then you will never see the essence and the value and the beauty of your own wife. And remember, whatever activity you have with your wife is sadaqah. It's sadaqah. The Prophet Muhammad was speaking to the Sahaba about ways through which they can get closer to the Almighty Allah. And then he told them, وَفِي بُضْءِ أَحَدِكُمْ صَدَقَةً. Even to have intercourse with your wife is sadaqah. And the Sahaba were like, أَيَأْتِي أَحَدُنَا شَهَوَتَهُ وَيَكُونُ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرٌ. One of us will just go and then do his own shahawa stuff, and then he gets rewarded for it. And the Prophet Muhammad asked him, أَرَأَيْتَ إِذَا وَضَعَهَا فِي الْحَرَامِ أَلَيْسَ عَلَيْهِ وِزْرٌ. If he goes and he does the same thing in the haram way, isn't he going to be punished? He said, yes. He said, if he does it the right way, he gets rewarded. So having that intercourse with your wife is rewarding. Doing it with that side chick is problematic. And at the end of the day, you might end up taking some illness, some diseases, some infections outside, and infecting this innocent woman who is keeping herself chaste for you. Or in fact, this innocent man who is trying hard to make ends meet. If you are scared of your wife because if you bring in another woman, it's going to be a problem, are you not scared of the Jahannam of the Almighty Allah if you go out there fornicating and having side chicks? If bringing another wife is going to be a problematic, it's going to be a problem in the house, the Almighty Allah didn't say it is by force for you to have another wife. He didn't say that. It's an option that the Almighty Allah gives us. So if bringing another wife is going to make hell break loose and destroy your house, everybody has their situations that they're going to deal with. But then, if bringing in the other woman is going to save you from Jahannam, it's better for you to do that than to think of your wife, of her wrath, and then you end up going to Jahannam because you end up going outside there, having all those, side chicks. And as grown men and elderly men, let's be mindful of this thing, which is these young girls, these 13-year-old girls, these 14-year-old girls that are now budding, they're very naive. They have crush on older men. They have crushes on older men. Be very, very careful. Protect that young woman. If you observe this 13-year-old girl, this 14-year-old girl, this 15-year-old girl is having this crush on you as an elderly man, protect her and guide her. Channel that energy she has into the right path. Don't abuse her. Don't use her. If you protect her, wallahi, she will thank you and respect you when she's old. She will never ever forget you. But if you use her because she's 13, she's 14, she's 15, she's now budding, and the levels of estrogen in her is going up, and she wants to be touched by a man, and then she comes, and then you also are not able to protect yourself, and then you end up touching her, wallahi, you've made a disservice to yourself, one. Number two, wallahi, when she grows up and then she's matured now, she'll never forget that you are an evil person. So that they should protect their chastity. And this goes both ways. Because we cannot be telling the girls to be chaste and then leave the boys alone to be running around fornicating. It takes two to tango. And back home, or even here, if you come to our madrasa for the weekend, we have more girls than we have boys. 60% of our students here are girls. And the older classes that we have, some of the girls are 18. We have 18, 17, 16. Just yesterday or Saturday, one of the girls came to me and said, Shakish, wallahi, I passed my nursing exam. And she's here with us, one of our students. She passed her nursing exams. So you can imagine her age. So we have those girls here. And we have the majority of them are good girls. Just that a few of them give us headaches. And it is natural. You can never have everything 100%. They give us headaches. But what I'm trying to say is that I realize that we have more teenage girls, 17, 18, 16, than we have boys in the same age range. So if we take Wasatiya alone as a community that we are supposed to intermarry, it means we don't have enough responsible boys who come to the madrasa to marry these responsible girls who come to our madrasa. So we are having a deficit of what? Of responsible young men to marry these girls. And it's something that I want to bring to our attention as parents, as a community, that we need to be looking at these things. Because if I sit there in the office for the madrasa, I take these notes, I observe, because it's a community and it is something that we want to live for the long term. So some of these stuff are stuff that I observe that, we look at our senior most class. The girls in the senior most class compared to the boys in the senior most class, realize that the girls in the senior most class are more advanced in terms of age, in terms of maturity than the boys in the senior most class. Because we don't put them together, we separate the classes. So if we're nurturing the girls to be responsible, to be educative, to be chaste, and then we don't have the boys coming into the masjid to come and learn, who are we producing these girls for? It's a question we need to answer. Who are we producing these girls for? If the girls are coming to the madrasa, they're memorizing the Quran, they're learning the fiqh, they're learning the hadith, they're learning the aqidah, and the boys are on PS5 and they're gaming and then they're ghettoing and then they're fighting and they're boxing each other, beating each other into pump. Who is going to marry these girls? So we end up producing responsible girls for non-existent boys who are going to marry them. So it's something I think as a community we need to look at. So We need to look at that too, so that the more we train the girls, because we are concerned about the girls, let's not leave the boys also behind. Let's be concerned about the boys too, so that we will have that balance where if a girl comes up, and then within us, you as you have a daughter, he has a son, we can have an agreement and see how best we can put them together, and then they get married. So يحفظن فروجهن ولا يبدين زينتهن إلا ما ظهر منها. That they are not supposed to expose anything of their adornment except that is apparent. And this part of the verse is where our scholars have had a lot of debates concerning the aura of the woman. Some of the scholars said the whole body of the woman, she's supposed to cover every part of her body. Not even the face and the hands. You can't leave anything out. And the other group say the only thing she's allowed to keep open is what? Is the face and the hands. So if you find a Muslim woman in her niqab covering her face, there is evidence to support that. And if you find a Muslim woman not covering her face, there is evidence to support that. But then they agree on a point that if the woman is going to go through men and it's going to be a fitna, then she has to cover her face. For that they agree to get their own consensus on that. That if she's going to be in a position whereby men are going to stare at her, she has to cover her face. That's one. Number two, if she's a woman whose beauty is so seductive. You know, some women are beautiful, but some women, their beauty is fitna. The moment she comes out, you see two serious men engaging in serious conversation, and the woman comes passing by and they forget what they're discussing. It happens, it's natural. So if a woman's beauty is at that level, she has to cover her face, because it's going to cause fitna in the community. But then there's a difference of opinion concerning generally whether the face should be covered or not. And there are a lot of ahadith, to support that. And even present-day scholars, like Sheikh Nasruddin Albani, they are of the opinion that the woman can leave her face open because of the ahadith, that come. The hadith of Asma, the Prophet Muhammad told her, "Ya Asma, if a woman is old enough, that she came with a cloth that was transparent. You could see her skin under the cloth." The Prophet Muhammad told her, "Ya Asma, if a woman is of age, she is not supposed to expose anything except her face and her hands." And this hadith is authentic. And then there are a lot of hadith that come. For example, they said there's a hadith in Hajjatul Wada. When the Prophet Muhammad was doing his final pilgrimage, there is this young man who is a cousin of Prophet Muhammad. I think there's Fadl ibn Abbas. He was next to the Prophet Muhammad, and a woman came asking the Prophet Muhammad some questions. And the woman was very beautiful. It was during Hajj, but her face was not covered. They said if there was a need for the woman to cover her face, it would have been stipulated in Hajj, because this is where men and women all meet during the same rites. So, but this woman didn't have her face covered. So as she was asking the Prophet these questions, Fadl would look at her, and the Prophet would turn his face away from her. And then he would turn his face back again, and the Prophet would turn his face away. He would turn, and the Prophet would turn his face, and his father was there, and he said, "Ya Rasulullah, drive that young man away, I fear for his iman." So they said, based on this hadith, if during Hajj, the woman is not supposed to cover her face, then it means that it is not compulsory. Another narration in the same Hajj, Aisha radiallahu anha, they were not covering their face during Hajj, but then when the men came passing, they would draw it over their faces. So this is just to say that it's difference of opinion between scholars concerning whether to cover the face or not to cover the face. It is a long treatise. It's not something that we need to worry our necks over, trying to fight each other and beat each other over. No, it is not, because it's more than 1,000-year-old debate between Muslim scholars that is there up to today. From the time of Tabi'een, there's Muhammad ibn Ka'b al-Quradi. He narrated that the Sahabiyat in Medina, because he died in Medina, he said what they used to do was that they covered their faces, but then they leave one hole for them to see the pathway. So you have those ahadith there, and all the ahadith are strong. It's strong. May Almighty Allah safeguard us. So she's supposed to cover herself, And the only people that are supposed to have access to her, what I mean access, not just unfettered access, but then to be able to sit with them cordially, have a conversation, talk about mundane stuff, just have a conversation. How are you? How is everything? Politics. Yes, there are stuff that you can talk about. So her father, her husband, obviously, her father, her husband's son. So you have two wives. Your other wife can sit down with the sons of your first wife or second wife and have a conversation, because what? She's their mother, even though she's not their biological mother. So your stepsons, if the sisters at the back are listening to us, so your husband, your father, the father of what? Your stepfather, your stepson, your own son, your brothers, your nephews, from both, your brother and your sister, or your own sisters, girls, and then what your right hand possesses. So historically, the sisters used to own slaves, so they will have that conversation with those slaves, or any man who doesn't have that that lust. So we have some men who are effeminate. I think that's the right word. Effeminate men. He's a man, but then the levels of estrogen in him is high. So you see him, he walks like a woman and stuff like that. Those kind of men can be allowed to have some conversations with the sister. But if that man, we know he's dangerous. If he's a man, because I remember dangerous. I can see my father actually. Yes, some of those guys are dangerous, and some of those guys, what they do is that some of them, not all of them, they do hookups for the girls, for the sisters. They try to bring other men disguised as women, dressed as women, into those rooms. We've had reports of that for some time. I didn't say here, but where I'm from. So these are the men that a woman is allowed to have some cordial and casual conversation and relationship with. Her husband, of course, her father, her husband's father, meaning her father-in-law, her stepsons, her brother, her nephews from both, her brothers and then her sisters, her own sisters, girls stuff, and then the men or the slaves that they own, and the men who do not have, that lust, and then also kids, boys who are not of age, who have not reached puberty. If you go to Surah An-Nur, verse 31, this verse is very, very clear. Surah An-Nur, verse 31, you can have the English translation and read and see that. There is another thing that is also very dangerous. The Prophet Muhammad said, "Iyyakum wad-dukhulu ala an-nisa." Be mindful of what? Entering upon women. Be mindful of women. There are women spaces, and then a man will just enter there without permission, without knocking, without asking. No. And the Sahaba were like, "Afara'ayta al-hammu ya Rasulullah. Ya Rasulullah, what do you think about, my brother going to my wife?" We have this very, very strange culture as Africans. You see someone call his brother's wife, "Our wife." Wallahi, she's not our wife, she's my wife. It's culture. So if I'm married, I have a wife, my brothers will be calling her, "Hey, our wife." No, she's not our wife. She's mine and mine alone. The Prophet Muhammad, the Sahaba asked him, "Ya Rasulullah, what do you think about the relatives of the husband, his brother, his cousins, going to the wife?" The Prophet Muhammad said, "Alhammu wal maut." Said those relations, it is death. A brother going to the wife of his brother is death. Because anything can happen between a brother's wife and his wife. And if the kids come out, they look like you. They look like you. And nobody's going to suspect that. Because you see, part of the objectives of the Sharia is protection of lineage. And in protection of lineage, Islam makes zina haram. Because a brother going to visit his brother's wife, nobody's going to suspect them on anything. Nobody's going to think anything about that because, oh, that's his brother's wife. It's not possible. No. It's happening. It's happening. Nephews have become sons of the people that people think they are their uncles. They are not their uncles. They are their fathers. So let's be mindful of the fact that, no, he's my brother, she's my brother's wife. And there's also this thing, oh, we are cousins. That is even more dangerous. We are cousins. Because in Islam, first cousins can get married. So, she's my cousin, there's nothing wrong. There's everything wrong about it. There's everything wrong about it. Because Islam protects, people's reputation and people's lineages. So, these are just some of the people that a Muslim woman, can have cordial relationship with. But apart from the people that are listed in Surah Al-Mu'minun, Surah Al-Nur, verse 31, any other man, no. Any other man. Listen, even those men, if a Muslim woman suspects or is not comfortable with the way they deal with her, she has to put a barrier between her and them. Because some young men are very dangerous. He is your nephew, but he lusts over you or after you. It happens. It happens. Stepsons lusting over their stepmothers. I don't know where they get that from. Nephews falling in love with their aunties and doing all kinds of stuff. With all my tell us if that has. The second, condition for hijab, we said the first one is cover the whole body. And then we spoke about the people who can see the woman or not. The second condition for hijab is that hijab itself should not be a source of beautification itself. It's not supposed to be a source of adornment on its own. Meaning, a Muslim woman should not be extravagant in what? In her dressing. Same as a Muslim man. But then it is more, to the woman than it is to the man, because a woman is naturally attractive. So the moment she adds extra spice to it, it becomes dangerous. So a Muslim woman does not expose her adornment. So a Muslim woman cannot expose her what? Her gold earrings that she wears. Or her gold necklaces that she wears. Or some gold bracelets that she wears. She's not supposed to expose them. But if you go to our programs, especially as Africans, and you see the way our women are dressed there, you wouldn't believe that we are here for an Islamic program. And it's something that we need to talk about. It's something that we need to be mindful of. That the way we dress, the way we go, we are here for a marriage. We are here in the Masjid. And if you see the way our women are dressed, wallah, you think we are at the party. The way they are dressed, with all those heavy makeup, all heavy perfume, the woman passes by you and then you could smell the perfume that she's wearing. It's on her. Wallah, it's totally haram. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu was going to the masjid, and the woman passes by him, and then he smelled her fragrance, and then he asked her, "Ila ayna ya amat Allah? Where are you going, oh you female servant of the Almighty Allah?" She said, "I am going to the masjid to pray." Listen, she's going to the masjid to pray, and she had all this perfume on her. And then Abu Hurairah told her, "My sister, go back home and bath janaba. Ghusl. Go back home and do ghusl of janaba." Because I heard the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, any woman who puts on perfume on her and she passes by the men and the men smell the fragrance of her perfume, she has committed zina. Now come to our marriages, especially as Africans. And don't worry, today I'm knocking us as Africans. I'm punching us. Come to our marriage ceremonies and come to our naming ceremonies. Come to the programs we organize and see the extravagance and see the tabarruj, the exposure of our women. Some of our women, with all due respect, they lift their arms and then you can see this part of their body because of the kind of dress that they've sewn. And because she's wearing a $2,000 necklace and she's wearing a $600 whatever, she can't wear the hijab because she wants people to see the dress that she's wearing. Because she has this bazaar and this, this embroidery and all these, they call it gemstones or 1,000 stones, she's put from top to bottom. She cannot put on the jilbab to hide that because she spent $600, $1,000 on this dress. Why is it that people cannot see it? People must see it. She is ready to just impress people at the expense of the Almighty Allah. It's a problem. We're facing it. I have it in my house, you have it in your house. It's a problem we're facing. And the Almighty Allah said that us. So it shouldn't be a source of beautification or adornment on its own. So the woman's dressing shouldn't draw attention to her. You shouldn't draw attention to her. Already she's attractive. She's a woman. The moment we say a woman is passing, almost all of us will turn our head to look. Because that's how the Almighty Allah created her, and that's the gariza. That's what the Almighty Allah has put in us men. So it shouldn't be a source of beautification or adornment on its own. And the next one is that it should be thick and not transparent. Sometimes the hijab that some of our sisters go and buy, with all due respect, when she puts it on, you can see everything underneath. And this is haram. Some of the jilbabs that you buy, women, is supposed to be an outer garment. They're supposed to dress inward, put on your clothes inward, and bring the big abaya and put it on top. And that's it. But then if you think you can put on your underwears alone and then bring that abaya and put it on, that is abaya. No. You're walking naked. Because the Prophet Muhammad has this hadith that there's going to be the end of time. Nisa'un kasiyatun ariyatun ma'ilatun mumilatun ru'usuhunna ka'afnimatil bukhtil ma'ila la yadkhuluna al-jannata wa lan yajidna rihaha. The Prophet Muhammad said it's going to be at the end of time. Nisa, women ma'ilatun mumilatun. They are walking and then they are balancing left, right and center. See the way the women walk today. In showbiz, they call it the runway, right? You call it the runway. Fashion shows where the women walking like this. If you don't know how to walk like that, you not get sponsorships. Nobody's going to sponsor you. You not get deals. You not get advertising deals. So you need to work in a seductive way. This is how they empower women. The Prophet predicted this. Ma'ilatun mumilatun kasiyatun ariyatun. They are dressed, but then they are naked at the same time. You know the new fashion trends, torn jeans. They wear jeans, but then the jean is torn. So you can see from the waist to the knee, all the place is torn, open. And then the down is torn, it's just torn. And that's fashion now. When I was growing up, it is mad men in my country, that's how they dress. Mad men, people who are crazy, that's how they dress. But now, it's a fashion trend, even back home. It's a fashion trend. And sometimes you come to the Masjid, you find some of us, just cut, and it's part of your aura, and if your aura is exposed, your salah is invalid. So sometimes it's not just anything that you see as a fashion trend, you need to you just have to copy and say, oh no, this is dressing. No, you don't do that. So Muslim women should understand that her jilbab, and the men too, when you're speaking about this, the fact that we're laying more emphasis on the women doesn't mean the men are scot-free in this. Yes, and the men too. You don't wear a transparent dress, you come to the masjid, and then your body is exposed. No. And sometimes if you're wearing those pants, please try as much as possible to wear pants that is going to cover your behind. Because sometimes you go to ruku and the person who is standing behind you cannot concentrate in his salah because your whole behind is showing. So let's try as much as possible. At least I said the last time that we had a class that we spoke about this, that if you are fond of putting on, shirts and pants, try to get just one jilbab, one thobe in your car. If it is time for salah, you put it on so that at least you're able to cover the aura if you go to ruku. Because sometimes the pants might not be so fitting,
And if you go to ruku, it's going to expose your behind. Or get the izar and then tie it the right way. Sometimes some of us, we have the izar, but then the way we wrap the izar around us continuously expose our behind. So it's not necessary that the izar must be on your waist. You can tie it on your belly so that at least it is all around like this. You'll be able to protect your behind. So it goes both ways. It's not only about the women. So it should be thick, and then it should not be what? It shouldn't be transparent. There are a lot of hadith on that. And the next point for the hijab is that it shouldn't be tight-fitting. That is going to expose her body contours. Sometimes a Muslim woman is in hijab, but then you know her body shape. You can see it. This is not hijab. Same too for men. Same too for men. You know, except those of us who have abs. You see, I have abs. And then, you know, I have one pack. One pack. Movement. Justice for the one pack movement. But then generally, you wear clothes. Of course, men are muscular. So sometimes, even in such a dress, like if I raise my hand, you can see that, you know, it's a bit fitting. But then this is okay. It's not because I'm wearing it, but try as much as possible not to wear stuff that is going to be tight-fitting for you as the man. And even for your own health, men, especially pants and the jeans that we wear, let's be mindful, because if it tightens us, it's going to affect our reproductive health. You can ask doctors on that. The man's reproductive organ needs to be free to have air pass around it. That is why the Almighty Allah brought it outside. So in wearing tight clothing, you end up what? Suffocating it and pressing it, and it's going to affect your reproductive health. So men's health is also very, very important, even through your own dressing. It's very, very important. So it shouldn't be tight-fitting. It should be what? It should be loose, and it shouldn't what? It shouldn't define and design the contour of the body of the woman and the man too. It shouldn't resemble that of the opposite gender. So women cannot dress, men dressing, and women do not dress like women. That is why we don't have this cross-dressing. We don't have this, they call them drag queens. You know, a man, you know, with all makeup, you can see his thick beard, and then his makeup, and then he's in bikini, and then he's come to our schools to what? To teach our kids what? No. In Islam, we are very clear in our minds. Men do not dress like women, and women do not dress like men. And the Prophet Muhammad cursed any man who dresses like a woman and any woman who dresses like a man. So let's be mindful of that. So it shouldn't resemble. So the fact that, and I saw it, wallahi, back home in Ghana, on some Eid, you see young Muslim woman, she's in thobe, the thobe that my father here is wearing, thobe. She's going to Eid with thobe. And then with this, you know, scarf, you know, that, you know, men tie with turban, and then she ties it on her head like that. She's going to Eid. On the day of Eid. We saw put on a thobe. It is for males, you don't worry. Okay, what if it is my husband's thobe, and then, you know, we're at home, and then I want to, you know, be nice? Even that. Because the rulings do not apply outside the home and then not inside the home. Because the moment you continue doing it in the house, one day you will end up doing what? Doing it outside. But then, if it is a dress that, you know, the community or the society determines that it is what? It is unisex. Everybody can wear it. For example, t-shirts in the house for a woman is okay, because t-shirt doesn't necessarily mean it's what? It's a male dress. But in the house, she can wear a t-shirt. She can wear your t-shirt because it's a t-shirt. It is what? It is unisex, and then you're at home and then you're having a fine time. And that's it. If the dressing is considered something that both males and females can wear, then she can wear it, but then within the context of what? Of the generality of the hijab. Don't say because I said t-shirt, so a Muslim woman can come out with a t-shirt. No. Or she can put on her hijab and then she puts on her t-shirt on top of it. No. Don't get me wrong. I'm speaking about indoor stuff. Where it's indoor, it's okay with her husband. She can put on her t-shirt. And you know, even if she doesn't want to wear anything in the room, that's between you and her. That's your business. We, those outside, it doesn't bother us. It shouldn't even bother us. We shouldn't be happy. We should even be happy for you. So men do not wear dresses that belongs to women, and women do not wear dresses that belong to men. We are clear in that in our minds. And even Islam went on further, even if you have kids and then they all sleep in the same room, he said, وَفَرِّقُوا بَيْنَهُمْ فِي الْمَضَاجِعِ. The Prophet ﷺ said, separate their bedding. If they reach the age of 10, separate the bedding. And wallahi, if you look at the trends now, what is going on with this LGBTQ stuff now, and you look at this hadith from the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, you don't have any option but to accept that he's a messenger of the Almighty Allah. Because he gave us solutions to problems that we're going to face 1,000 years later. Where boys think they are girls and girls think they are boys, and boys want to dress like girls and girls want to dress like boys. No, it doesn't happen. And sometimes some of the mothers, they want to dress their girls like boys. They want to call them tomboys. It's part of what? Affirming some of these foolish ideologies. And some of the women want to dress like their boys, like girls, putting on them lipstick and then making makeups on them and stuff like that. All is a way of what? Of affirming this, bad idea. Last point, and then we can break, is the dress should not resemble that of kuffar. Meaning, if there's a specific clothing or dressing that is specific to the kuffar, you don't use it as a Muslim. So, for example, the thobe that the Roman Catholic fathers, use, and that's what a religious connotation. You don't say because every thobe is a thobe, you come here in that thobe. No. The dressing of the nuns, our Muslim sisters do not dress that way because of our identity as Muslims. So these are just some of, some points in hijab that we discussed today, and we ask the Almighty Allah to safeguard us. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah rabbil alamin wa assalamu alaikum. No questions for today.